If you're holding a loud boombox right next to your ear, I think you're going to get some hearing damage. With a single hand, this random grunt can easily rip off a guy's head. In Madness 7, it takes Hank more time to rip off somebody's head with both hands, which means this grunt is more powerful than Hank is. Hank has no reason to jump here. The head flies by a good distance to his left, and jumping does nothing to increase or decrease that distance. Jeb, summons the most inefficient weapon possible to kill Hank. How many weapons does Hank have on him? He has the same inventory space as a typical RPG protagonist. Hank hates it when people have fun. He's not a hero, he just committed mass murder in a park. For the second grunt, walking forward mindlessly towards the first grunt's fresh corpse is literally the second worst option possible, next to turning the gun around and straight up shooting himself. Sheriff Tracker. For some reason, this scene is cut from the remastered 4K version on the Madness Project Nexus channel. Hank goes through the roof as soon as the grenade goes off underneath him. He should be in many bloody pieces right now, Madness 4 style. Hank could easily shoot the sheriff here, but doesn't. During this scene, a few enemies come from the left side at fairly quick intervals. I'm under the assumption that the next room is the elevator, because we don't see any other room between the elevator and this one. And given the elevator's very slow speed, this rate of reinforcements should not be possible. Tricky's entire character arc this episode is him walking into a room, missing every shot with his assault rifle, and accepting his fate as his weapon is taken from him. Hank punches this guy into the next room, which is presumably the elevator, but his body is never seen again. The effect of falls on Madness characters is very inconsistent throughout the series, so instead of giving sin out each time a fall should or shouldn't have killed somebody, I'll just sin this first instance of the grunts jumping onto the moving elevator with no harm done to them. This explosion has no repercussions in regards to the elevator's functionality. This grunt walks into the room as if the place he just entered from wasn't an empty elevator shaft. And again. There is no way Hank enters the vent and comes out the other side that quickly. Also, vote Hank out. He's the imposter, I just saw him vent. That's a long walk to the sheriff's office. The architect of this building was an absolute troll. Hank, once again, could easily shoot the sheriff here, but doesn't. Either he's providing a monologue like a James Bond villain, or he simply has killing the sheriff as a plan B. Or rather, do try to shoot the sheriff. Hank dies because he hesitates to kill the sheriff for so long. Hank gets imposter 2 games in a row. How are most of the rooms in this series lit up? This is the only room we've seen so far which has a light. Hank enters the next room with the chopping part of the axe facing him, but in the next room is facing away from him. Also, did these 2 grunts just stand by idly when Hank was killing people in front of them? The doorway was open, they should have had more than enough time to see him coming. This camera footage is missing a few bodies. The sheriff is comically selfish. He plunges Nevada into absolute disorder and chaos just so he can have a chance at survival. And it doesn't even work. Does the sheriff's department only have the budget for a single jetpack? This is the only one we ever see. This M60 runs out of ammo after only a dozen or so shots. On his Curious Cat page, Crinkles answered a question which seemed to imply that animals do not exist in Nevada. But in the background here, we can clearly see whales falling down from the sky. So if you wanted to, you could absolutely have some whale dogs. Or hot whales. Whatever. The sun attacks Hank with a nightstick. I'm trying to be lenient on animation oversights and mistakes, but this grunt is very dead and still does not count towards the kill count. What are the odds that the same grunt is ignored in the kill count as both a human and a zombie? Jeb could have pulled out his sword much earlier than that. Hank has enough time to shoot Jeb with one more burst, but chooses not to. Once again, shouldn't the bodyguards have been able to see Hank through the doorway way before he enters the room? Also, the bodyguard on the right isn't even facing the proper direction. Did he not see Hank through the open door? Did he not hear the loud gunshots coming from the previously mentioned open door? Did he not wonder why the sheriff came running in desperately? This is the worst bodyguard of all time. Helen Keller would unironically be a better bodyguard. At least she would be able to feel the noise vibrations coming from the gunshots a few meters away from her. Once again, Hank hesitates to shoot the sheriff. I guess he didn't learn his lesson the first time around. Jeb, you're better than this. The head of a Madness character is just as easy of a target as the body, if not an easier one. Crinkles. The no reason part of this may have made sense back in the day, but it doesn't really hold up too well in present standards where you're trying to create a coherent plot. Hank is driving on the left side of the road. Last time I checked, Nevada was based in America, not Europe. Moonlight is reflected sunlight, and Hank killed the sun in Madness 3. So where is the moonlight coming from? With a few exceptions, the terrain of Nevada is mostly flat, so there is no excuse as to why these two grunts didn't see Hank's vehicle speeding towards them. What is Hank's motivation for hunting Tricky down? The clown isn't harming anybody, he's a DJ at a club. A few seconds ago, all of these grunts were unarmed. Hank hesitates to finish off Tricky, even though he was fine shooting him in the face as he entered the room a few moments ago. Instead of slicing the zombified agents in half, just like he did to all the other zombies, Hank decides to stand back and see if he could block all of the agents' point-blank assault rifle shots.
But why? Why would you do that?
Hank slices the agent's head in half, but it seems like his brain is still completely intact. Jeb hesitates to kill Hank. I'm beginning to think none of the main characters actually want each other dead. This is a bit difficult to notice unless you go frame by frame, but the explosion occurs from inside of Hank's body. So this raises the question, why did Hank have a bomb inside of him? At this point, it should be pretty clear that Hank is simply a sociopathic terrorist. I seriously hope there are no Hank did nothing wrong supporters out there, because he might genuinely be the most evil character in the series. For those who don't know, Madness 4 was originally supposed to be the end of the series. Even though it ended up continuing, I love the fact that Crinkles decided to end the series with the OG Madness 1 Chicken Dance song. It's a hilarious throwback. Both the moon and the new sun are out, and yet the sky is completely dark. Alright, from now on, I'm just going to assume that seeing and hearing through open doorways in the Madness universe is impossible. This is getting ridiculous. What was the point of breaking open the roof, Jeb? Dramatic effect? Jeb is shown as an honorable fighter who refuses to take the easy shots on Hank. A philosophy which he completely throws out the window in Madness 7. Allies arrive just in time to help the protagonist cliché. None of the partygoers are affected by the building's freefall or sudden landing. The gun that was in the vehicle completely disappears after the building falls on it. I won't be the one to make the obvious joke about the white liquid splattered on the agent's face. I'm sure there's enough fan art of it, somewhere, on some obscure, sketchy Discord server. Medical supplies only appear when the main characters need them. Shooting the train isn't going to make it stop, Deimos. This would have been a great cliffhanger had Madness 9 not already released and shown Sanford and Deimos perfectly fine. If Tricky is trying to prevent Hank from reaching him, why wouldn't he just let go of the warning sign? Where did these leaves come from? We've only ever seen 2 trees, and neither of them were around this area. It seems like a waste to have so many of the same posters on the same wall. This episode ends on a literal cliffhanger. None of these agents run past Deimos to get to Sanford, who should be a relatively easy target in his condition. Sanford doesn't pocket the rest of these bandages for later in case more injuries occur. The Chat Buddy app has no spam filter. This upgrade proves to be incredibly insignificant. I could attack the fact that Sanford randomly grows a permanent lip after seeing himself in the mirror, but it's honestly more funny than anything else. Why does the Soldat have a silenced pistol? None of the other agents here have a silenced weapon, and it's pretty clear they're going in loud anyways. How is Hank still alive? How is Hank speaking? Tricky has great taste in fashion. Also, the Madness 7 version of Hank is significantly weaker than his previous couple of versions. There are many moments in this animation where he struggles to do what he could have done with ease before. However, in every canon and non-canon animation that features this version of Hank, he's overpowered. If Crinkles wanted Hank to be a killing machine in his other animations, he should have used Madness 6 Hank. But I guess Madness 7 Hank is the most stylish, so... You had one job. This box apparently contains 7 monkeys. I have yet to see monkeys in this series. Unless the hot dogs are... Wait. Mag Agent Torture could have very easily killed Hank here had he just used the shotgun to swing down onto Hank instead of using it like a golf club. I get that it's unique, but the chainsaw is the most impractical weapon in this cabinet. It's loud and has a limited range. Horrible target prioritization. Jeb shoots the 2 unarmed guys first, and then the one who has a gun. I think now is a good time to point something out. In most madness animations, when somebody is shot to death, they throw their hands in the air the same way 90% of their peers do. Observe. Instead of taking the time to type out 2 entire sentences and hoping the soldats see it before leaving, the auditor should have sent 2 messages. One simply being, wait, to grab and hold the attention of the soldats, and the other being whatever else he has to say. The spikes at the top of the stairs won't retract unless somebody pulls one of the 2 switches. The upstairs switch is under control of Sanford and Deimos, who obviously aren't going to politely open the way for the agent. And nobody is at the bottom of the stairs to open the way for the agent. So what is the agent's plan exactly? He's running up the stairs with a knife towards a closed gate with the enemy team with guns behind it. Deimos only kills 1 soldat during the final confrontation, while Sanford does most of the heavy lifting. Step it up, dude. 4.88 terabytes per second? I've got to move to Nevada. Jeb takes inspiration from Super Meat Boy. The 2 engineers in the back do absolutely nothing. Also, did none of these engineers think to shoot out the tires? Possessing these engineers turns out to be extremely effective, so it makes you wonder why the auditor didn't do it more often. On the computer screen, it claims that Hank's intelligence value has been lowered down to 3, which would make you think that he is pretty intellectually handicapped. However, Hank later utilizes some pretty clever strategies to get rid of the possessed engineers, which is uncharacteristic of him. Is intelligence measured the same way golf score is, meaning the lower the better? The possessed engineer could very easily spawn camp Hank here, but he chooses to run away instead. Sanford is cornered and unarmed. Why would you tell your fellow possessed engineer to retreat? This is an easy kill. Also, neither of Sanford's injuries ever hinder his performance. In fact, the hand wound miraculously heals itself. Deimos's body is conveniently not affected by this. I don't understand why Sanford signals for Hank to stay back. Nothing is preventing them from staying grouped up, and Hank just ends up prying the bars out of the ground to get past the gate anyways. This engineer could kill Sanford, but decides to go for the hook instead. Also, Sanford must have a fear of engineers by this point. He's been shot by them twice, stabbed by them once, and now his signature weapon has been ruined by them. Deimos's body is conveniently not affected by this. Hank grabbing Sanford to pull him out of danger may be the first act of care he has ever shown to another human. These visuals are stunning. Also, I think Expurgation is a good time to praise the overall music of Madness. Each episode's soundtrack is unique and fits extremely well with the animation. The way Sanford kills this soldat is so epic. I promise I'll send this episode, just hold on. One of the posters here claims that Tricky has ruined Nevada. I fail to see what significant harm Tricky has done to the overworld. The auditor, the sheriff, and Hank are the reasons Nevada has gone downhill. I can appreciate all the sound effects in this series, but Satyrix does them so well. Welcome to Aperture Science. This grunt moves his hands in an alternating pattern to move down the chain, until this happens. Why does this bother me so much? You were telling me that Grunt at the beginning could hold onto the chain with one hand, but Deimos can't hold onto a ledge with both hands?
Finish him. Fatality. Finish him. Fatality.
This miniseries had a cool naming pattern going, with each animation having a single relevant word capitalized as the title. So we have Chase, Sacrifice, Anamnesis, Powerless, and now Deimos Rebuilt. Why? The title should have just been Rebuilt. So Deimos was always able to light cigarettes with his thumb, and now he can summon rocks. If he's already a firebender and an earthbender, why not just go all the way and have him control air and water too? And paint a blue arrow on his forehead. Deimos takes inspiration from Super Meat Boy. To be damned. That's blatant foreshadowing if I ever saw it. If you can just extract people from the afterlife, that takes any emotional impact out of a character's death.